What have we here? Anybody remember this stuff? This is some classic right here. Some of you newer Duos players may not know about this, but if you're not sure what to do with your time between now and Digital Next, I would recommend taking a look at 2015. This is by far not the worst set of duels. I mean, it's a kind of a screwed up meta. I think there are only 5 legitimate decks in this meta, and I think I feel pretty good about what they are, but at the same time, it's pretty fun, and I'll show you a few reasons why. For one thing, we're gonna go try to find a online game. We might not get one, but if we don't, we're gonna play the AI, and you're gonna see the AI is not a steaming pile of poop. All right, so this is the deck I'm gonna play. I've been playing Ramp all day. Let's not give up on the Ramp, okay? Let's not give up on the Ramp. Let's check out Ramp in 2015. I don't know how y'all did it. I don't know what y'all did when you were ramping. I mean, I feel like Nighthawk. I feel like Nighthawk has to have done this before. Like, when I ramp in this game, I warp world. That's what I do. So this is my Naya Ramp deck. And it's about getting a lot of permanents on the into play, and playing awesome permanents ahead of schedule. It's about the sweepers, because this format's a lot about tokens. So you gotta run your sweeps. But it's also about this. And if you can't read that card, don't worry, I need my glasses to read it myself, but you know, maybe I can just put the text on the screen for you. I can't do the exclamation point on my darn iPad. Where are you? There it is. All right. Anybody remember this card? Anybody do this? I mean, this card is insane. It's so much fun. So yeah, this is my Warp World deck. We've got a lot of permanents that just do things. We ramp so we can cast it. And yeah, we run Kozilek, the Butcher of Truth, which is pretty nutty and keeps the party going long after he dies. Because every time he dies, you have to shuffle your graveyard into your library. And when he does that, it kind of just restirs the Warp World pot. So something I love about this deck, I really hope we get to do it. But I'm going to talk about it now in case we don't and I forget. I love this deck because one of the most popular strategies is spider spawning. So like they'll use Satyr Wayfinder to put a bunch of cards in their graveyard, and they'll use Seance to get it back, and they'll flip like their deck over, and they'll only have like 10 cards in their library, and they'll have 100 spiders on the board, and next turn they're gonna reanimate Crater Hoof Behemoth and kill you, right? Well, if they have like 100 spiders on the board and say even 20 cards in their deck, you just Warp World them and they put their whole deck on the battlefield. And if they flip an Elvish Visionary or a Wall of Omens that say when they enter the battlefield you draw a card, they lose on the spot. They just instantly lose. I love that so much about this deck. Anyway, that was my tech against the spider spawning decks back in the day. Hopefully we get to use it. If not, I'm going to queue it up. Like, I'm going to queue my spider spawning deck against this. All right, so we have to remember to equip the deck. That was a thing. And we go multiplayer. I've actually been able to get games on here most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. So if you guys think Duels is dead and you'll never find another game, if I can still go into like 2014, 2015 and find games, that's usually a pretty good sign. But now that I've said that, here on Friday night, let's see what happens. Mortivor's also been playing 15 recently. Yeah, I like to go backwards when I'm too disgusted and I know I can't go forwards. I feel new to Magic, not knowing what half these cards do. Amen. No one will fault you for not knowing much about Warp World. But if you don't know spider spawning, we may have to reintroduce you. Alright, give this one more try. If not, though, I'll queue up the AI, because it's actually not horrible. Okay, so not today, even though I said I haven't been having a problem. I really haven't. Like, I unlocked all the premium boosters the good old-fashioned way by beating online players. Anyway, what you can do, this is a revolutionary concept, all right? You guys have never seen stuff like this before. Like this is new age stuff. You can go to single player, you can go to 2-player, and now that's my gamer tag, so that'll be the deck I picked. And over here, you can actually pick what deck you want to play against. I mean, you can play against random, which is neat, but you can also go through, say, all the decks I've built, and you can pick one of my decks. And there are also decks the AI has built that you can play against. I'm going to pick the Spiders deck. We're going to play against my version of the Spiders deck with the Ramp deck and hopefully pull the Warp World combo I discussed. Yeah, I know. Don't you wish that the current Magic Duels had this feature, right? To play against decks you build, to test matchups. And yeah, absolutely watch Hakeem and Mobius Warp World videos on YouTube. Absolutely. Since I never got to make any, this is my vengeance. And look at this hand. They just want me to do this. They want to see it. Of course, we're going to need to find some red mana, so let's keep that in mind as we use our Satyr Wayfinder. Cleansing is probably good. It can help us bridge the gap to warping the world. The AI decks in duels are horrid. Yeah, man, they're terrible. And I think that's on purpose, so that you get bored playing against them. I really do. I think that's intentional. I know I need red mana. I think I'll just lead on this. It's always an interesting, do I play the Wayfinder or the Visionary? It often depends if you know what type of mana you need. And we don't get that red mana just yet, but it's okay. It's all good. It's all good. We did lose our MVP card, though, Cultivate. This deck is a super Cultivate deck. Really needs to draw it. We have Spiders doing nothing. That's different. Worst top deck we could possibly imagine. Nice. All right. In goes the Wayfinder. What you got, AI? What could be in that hand where they do nothing? A bunch of Rescue from the Underworld, perhaps? You think that... Okay, so Shard says he thinks that they made the AI decks random to avoid boredom. Well, failure. Epic failure. In fact, one of my favorite things about new duels is when Mobius made videos, he like actively raged against Wizards for this. You know, he would make videos of him like using tutelage on the AI decks just to show that they were all the same, or that they were repetitive, or that they were pointless and terrible, so he could, as he put it, call Wizards on their BS marketing, which I just find that so beautifully endearing, that he would take it so personally, that Mobius would feel a need to do that. If you buy old Magic games, do you have to buy the expansions too, or is everything included? You have to buy the expansions. Not everything is included, at least not on Xbox. So in this situation, I think I just want to not block. Well, no, I definitely want to block here, because I'm eventually going to blow up the world one way or another. Now, if we were close to casting Warp World, we wouldn't want to block. We'd want our permanents on the battlefield. But in this scenario, oops, I meant to block. I thought I paused. Never mind. I mean, I decided not to block. That's not a punt at all. All right. Our opponent's going to play the Necro guy. And mills 3. So he mills Arbor Colossus, Satyr Wayfinder, and Sheldred. Oh, lordy. Lordy. I should probably like zoom these cards a bit more for those of you who haven't played this game. Like, this card is nuts. 7 mana, 6/6 Swamp Walk. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, sacrifice a creature. There are people who love this card. Other cards, like Arbor Colossus, this card's great. Monstrosity's great. Can't really describe it right this second. All right. What's the play? I think we just sit. I mean, I could try to Genesis Hydra here, but I don't think there's a lot of point in that. The art on the Colossus is pretty sweet. Genesis Hydra is another sweet card. For 2 green and X, reveal your top 4 and put a card with converted mana cost X or less onto the battlefield. And the Hydra has X +1/+1 counters. Card's pretty epic. Butcher of Truth is like, all these cards are so cool. We don't realize it when we're playing them for months and months on end, but in hindsight, we had it pretty good. All right, are we bringing out the spiders? We're bringing out the spiders. Spider frickin' spawning. Get a 1/2 spider for every creature card in your graveyard. Epic. Epic card. I don't want to exile my Wayfinder, so I'm going to attack with it. I'm confident the AI would block. As a human, I would block, because there's just not much to lose. If I'm going to anger, I'm going to anger, right? And let's clean that up. Our opponent can flash back spider spawning for 7, which they might do this turn, but we have a cleansing. It's ready. We also have a Resolute Archangel. And he's gonna play an elf. Alright. Did not draw a land. So 4 non-lands in the hand. Don't think I'm gonna need this right away. I'm just gonna play it right now. Make my opponent deal with it. See if we can draw more cards out of them with this planar cleansing. I don't think I'm going to be low on life anytime soon. This game's probably going to end in spider spawning into Craterhoof Behemoth. Not going to need... Like, my life total doesn't matter when that happens. Doesn't matter. There's the demon. I did suspect the demon could get involved. Sort of wanted to draw something like that out. Alright. Now what do we do? I think he has to sacrifice a creature. Yes, he does. So we could... We have options, like ground assaulting the visionary to make him sacrifice his demon. We don't want to cleanse here. I want to cleanse... When I cleanse, I want to catch the spiders in it. We could ground assault the demon and pass. I think I'll play a Hydra. Hope to hit some ramp or some value. One off of hitting, okay. No use crying over spilt milk. There's a land, good. That land is needed to get us on that warp world. We're on that warp world mana, but we're way behind in permanence on the board. So that doesn't make warp world particularly good. Unless, of course, we're gonna mill our opponent out. Uh-oh. Runescar Demon. Diabolic Tutor on a creature. Pretty good card. Not surprised I put it in my own deck. I think that means it's almost time to cleanse, but I mean, there's a lot of things that this could have fetched. The other option is to warp the darn world, which benefits our opponent just as much as it benefits us. No. So how many cards in the graveyard? This says, at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are fewer than 6. I'm pretty sure there are 5. Yeah, so if I ground assault this thing, he gets to keep this thing. Right now there are 5, so he has to sacrifice one of them. And then I could shoot the other. Now, he fetched something. It's probably a Craterhoof Behemoth, or it's another demon. It's really tough. If I'm willing to take 6 more damage and go to 8, I can wait a turn. It's so rough though. I think what I'll do though is this. Play another Hydra, wait a turn. Ooh, nice hit. This will encourage my opponent to make something big happen. How you doing? And we'll see what the opponent does here, facing a big board. Probably flashback the spiders would be the right call, I think. And then we can... Oh, does not attack. And plays flashback spiders. Alright. So he's still got 39 cards in his deck. The idea of milling him out with Warp World here is very unlikely. I think what I should do is crash in here. I can Ground Assault this thing. I can crash in with my big guys. I can kill one of his spiders. I can Cultivate, then I cast Kozilek next turn. Seems good. I do find these games harder. Like, I actually do find these pretty hard compared to what we're playing now in duels. I don't know why. I think it's not as natural for me what the lines are, because some of the cards are out of mind. Maybe that's pretty natural. Alright, so we cut his permanent count down a bit. Let's go load up on some mountains with the mighty Cultivate. Our opponent will probably... Do they have another spiders? I'm sure that they've got something else in their hand. I mean, we haven't seen what they tutored for yet. Oop, send in that 6, or 1. Send in 1. What is going on? Oh, I'll take it. Mordivore says this game's harder because there are a lot more swinging cards. Yeah, maybe that's a big part of it, right? Lots of big swings. Whoo! That's the draw. That's the frickin' draw right there. All right. That's brutal. Maybe we're not going to warp this world. Oh, screw it. I didn't come here to not warp the world, did I? Dude, I could deck myself, though, if I do it with Kozilek in my hand. Player shuffles all permanents into his or her library, reveals that many cards from the top of the library. Did I come this far to not warp the world? We can play another game. What kind of magic would I be showing you? Did this version have planeswalkers? I can't remember. No planeswalkers in this game. No planeswalkers in this game. Domination! Haha! Can we play game 2? Oh, it went back to random for me. Let's select that deck again. I still want to warp world with a billion spiders out and deck him. I feel like that's the greatest play in this whole game. Yeah, planeswalkers were one of the big things about duels, right, Shard? But then they started in Origins, and what did we get? We got flip planeswalkers. We didn't get a natural planeswalker until Gideon and Obnixilis showed up. I found that very funny. That it's like, okay, planeswalkers, but you have to turn them into planeswalkers. They're only creatures until you transform them. And then, of course, in the Origins meta, there was like no way to deal with a planeswalker. It did stay that way for a while, to be honest. So if you did transform your planeswalker, you were just a boss. I remember a game where I played, where the only thing I played was Liliana and a Fleshbag Marauder to flip it. And I drew no other non-land cards, like the whole game. I just flooded like crazy. But because I had those two, I was able to ultimate Liliana and eventually recur the Fleshbag and just go off. My opponent was playing a very slow control deck, and they just had no answer to the Liliana when I flipped it with the Fleshbag Marauder with 6 mana. Nissa would take over every game, yeah. Nissa ran this yard. Do I need to... Yeah, I think I'm just supposed to cultivate as soon as I can with this deck. This deck loves Cultivate. White and white, please. And I don't want to trade if I can help it, as I am the one warp worlding. And he is the one spider spawning. And he's gonna mill self. Okay. Vengevine, you. That's not good. Vengevine's a pretty good card. If he casts 2 creature spells, Vengevine comes back from the graveyard with a vengeance. A lot of vengeance for a vine. And we're not doing much. It's gonna be a long game if we keep drawing land. This deck, like this game in particular, makes me feel like there's a magnet on top decking lands. I flood out in this game so much. Oh no! I guess he takes ground assault, or he forces me to ground assault that little maggot. Hey, look, land. I'm not going to ground assault that maggot yet. He might just have another. I'm in no rush. I think some people would just straight up blast it and hope to play Palaka Worm next turn, but I'm not in a rush. My opponent is not either. Is it Arbor Colossus time? It is. So that probably needs to die more than I need to play a Palaka Worm, because that can go over the top of the Palaka Worm. Oh, yay, best top deck in my deck. So we'll get you off the board before you absolutely wreck me, Arbor Colossus. 5 mana, 6/6. For 6 mana, it goes monstrous, which means you put 3+1/+1 counters on it, make it a 9/9, and you destroy target creature with flying, which is pretty sick. I believe it's a May ability on the Eat a Flyer. Let's see if we flip that spider spawning. You still haven't brought out the Vengevine, lucky me. Yeah, draw that land. I had to talk about the magnetism that this game has on drawing mana. I can't tell you how many times I've been in this situation in this game. Like 3 lands in hand with my 10 drop and 2 Satyr Wayfinders hanging out. But my opponent, I'm guessing they have plenty of 7 drops. I'm guessing we're going to get Sheldred. I'm guessing we're going to get Runescarred Demon. But we get to butcher the truth next turn, and then we get to draw more lands. Yep, you? No, I guess we'll try to get back our Palaka Worm. It's now or never. There's the spawns. Not the biggest, but not the smallest. Yes. Draw that land, baby. Alright, let's see what he's got. Please not tribute to hunger. Please not tribute to hunger. Please not tribute to hunger. See, Omega says, seems actually fun to play the AI in this version. It really is. It's a lot of fun to play the AI in this version. They don't make stupid plays. Not that stupid. They're not without their faults. But you could play the AI all day and convince yourself that you're having fun. You really can. Oh, man. I think I'm supposed to attack. This is not indestructible, but unlikely my opponent can deal 12 to it. I definitely want that Annihilator. Alright, let's do it. Yeah, tribute to hunger. Target opponent sacrifices a creature and you gain life equal to its toughness. The bane of the person who casts Kozilek with nothing else on the battlefield. The great bane. So... I guess he's still a ways. He's 2 off of a Crater Hoof, so I can't lose to that here. But if I play this now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I guess playing... Hold back on these 2. See if we lose some life next turn somehow. Well, that's brutal. Alright. You always end up milling something you regret. I was hoping to just get a tap land to get, I don't know, max value out of my turn. I'm a sucker for value. I guess I could play either one of these now. Yeah, I guess we'll do this, and then we can do this next turn guilt-free. And I think we can do that and Captain at the same time. Mortivore, you say it was fun for the guy playing it. Are you implying that the AI has feelings? And I lose to the AI plenty in this version. Uh-oh, Arbor Colossus can take out the Angel. But we'll just keep annihilating. So that's going to wear him down. Just doesn't have a answer right now for the Annihilator. You going to take that 12? Yeah, I guess so. Brutal. All right. Let's go ham. Oh, no. Yeah, I guess I miscounted. My bad. I thought I was going to play Captain as well. This Kozilek seems way cooler. Yeah, man. This Kozilek's settled and kind of infinite recursion. Yay, no more basic lands in the deck. Let's see if I still manage to draw them. No Warp World down there. Maybe we can still top deck it. Oh, the Maggot is going to take the Baneslayer Angel. I can't blame you. That card is bonkers in this game. Woo, yeah. I guess I could blow up my own stuff. Not that good. Yeah, we'll just send the house. That Annihilator should do the job now. We're at the point where you can't just sacrifice spiders no more. Uh-huh. You get one more turn. Let's flood the board with fun. I remember a podcast where they said that Kozilek was going to define the meta. Nighthawk, did you have anything to do with that? You have anything to do with the podcast that said Kozilek was the new meta? The new can't lose card? Hurrah! All right, let's do one more game. Yeah, that's the other thing. You just restart the games when you want to do a best of 3 or whatever. This is interesting, right? I mean, it does nothing for most of the game, but Cultivate, like I said, is the best card in here. I still think I have to try for a different hand, and it looks like I might get punished. This is close, though. This is really close, but I think I've got to go back in. All right. Does this version have plane chase game mode? No. But thank you, Mortivore, answered that question. This does have 4-player mode. I think it's just 4 players beating the crap out of each other. I've never done it because I think that Magic should only exist between one player and his one opponent, okay? I think Magic should only be about 1v1, okay? Don't take me the wrong way. It's just not my thing. You can play Magic with as many people as you want to. Oh yeah, Visionary square off. By the way, Elvish Visionary, easily the most played card in this version of the game. Easily. Just like any deck with green, you start with 4 Elvish Visionary. It's a no-brainer. It's the only way. I guess we'll take white since we have triple white cards hiding in our deck. What do we discard here? Yep, other Warp World. (2014) had Booster Draft, or Sealed, I guess. That's that. It's better than playing against 3 actual people because AI doesn't hold grudges like people do. I didn't know people held grudges. Is there drama about this? I don't know. Yeah, all those schemes I know nothing about. Amen. All right, so this card is good. Nope, not you. you're good too. But at the beginning of your upkeep, you draw X and you lose X, so it's like a walking howling mine. That can be a pain, and we'll need another red to kind of stifle that pain, which we have not found. So things might get hairy. See if the AI can put one on the board while we're struggling to get our warp world going. We have not drawn our precious cultivate. We milled it instead. Heartbreaking, really. And here come the maggots. I wonder what you take here. That's an interesting choice. And Anger of the Gods is the winner. And oh, double maggots. Brutal. Down goes the captain. Okay. It's like that, y'all. It's like that. We're gonna need some red mana. I mean, and that counts. With so many tap lands, especially the tri-lands, it's really important in this game to play your cards like Wayfinder, Visionary before you make your land drop. There's always a chance you need to use that land drop to play a tap land. It was a huge part of the sequencing for this format. Which I'm going to go ahead and brag my credentials because it's a long time ago, but it was in fact my glory days where I could literally show people that I was good based on something like this. I was ranked for a very, very long time number 2 in the Xbox leaderboard in this game, and number 3. I was either number 2 or number 3 for something like 8 months, some ridiculous amount of time. From the day the game came out to almost 8 months into this game, I was between 2 and 3 on the leaderboards. Which, if anybody's been up there, you know, basically that means you can only lose like 1 out of 25 games if you want to stay up there. And I played every day. I didn't sit on it. I played ranked every day. I played at least 3 games a day. I had a routine because I really wanted to get to number 1, but I never did. So that never quite happened for me. Oh, what am I supposed to do with this board? What's my opponent sitting on with 6 untapped mana? What am I supposed to do here? I think I just play Palaka Worm and pass. And hope to draw that red mana and warp this frickin' world. That's what I need to do. Although sending Palaka Worm in is always fun against a big board. Okay, no instant speed stuff. That's what I thought. I just don't know what my opponent could possibly be doing over there, drawing all these cards from his Graveborn Muse, which, by the way, X is equal to the number of zombies you control. He draws a card for each zombie. This is a zombie. So he's now drawing 3 cards a turn. And he's sitting there with open mana. I can't imagine. I mean, probably Rescue from the Underworld might be in that deck, but then he could have used it to get back Arbor Colossus. So, oh, there's Shadowborn. That's a pain. That'll draw me a card at least, though. Get me that red mana. Yeah, Genesis Hydra. Like it. Good card. Ooh, Palaka. Oh, look at that discard step. Oh my gosh. AI, what are you doing? So the AI is on 6 lands. They discard Crater Hoof Behemoth. I think that might mean they have Rescue from the Underworld, which, ouch. I mean, if they have Rescue from the Underworld, I'm dead next turn. So I need to do stuff. So if I Genesis Hydra, there's a chance I'll hit the Darksteel Ingot and be able to warp this world. I think I have all 3 ingots in my deck still. Yeah. So that's the play. We're going to try to do that before I get... I mean, I guess I get Behemoth next turn. That's the way it is. But yeah, there it is. All right, let's hope I get to untap. Pray to the gods. Pray to the gods I don't die here. Rescue from the Underworld in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So for those of you who don't know, Rescue from the Underworld is like a necromantic summons type of card. It'll bring a creature directly back onto the battlefield. And the idea is you do that with a bunch of spiders or a bunch of dorks like he has in Craterhoof Behemoth, which gives all your creatures +X and trample, and you just attack for 1 billion. He doesn't get it back. Oh yeah, he gets it back at the beginning of the next turn. That's right. So I do have another turn. I knew there was a reason that was in my head. Like when I thought about it, I was like, I think it works that way, but I couldn't remember the exact wording. Let's see. Regardless, he didn't have it. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So, sacrifice creature, no problem. Choose a card in your graveyard, no problem. Return that card and sacrifice card to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of your next upkeep. So, he would need another turn cycle. So, yeah, good line. I picked an okay line. Alright, do I want to attack in and try to whittle his permanent count? If I attack with this, the most he can do is block with a Shadowborn. If he blocks with 2 or more creatures, that's fine because I lowered his permanent count for the Warp World. So I think I will make that play. I don't want to attack with anything else because he could eat it, and that would go against what we're trying to do here. I also don't have like Craterhoof in here or anything with haste. So there's no, I'm not worried about burning my attack step before the world gets warped. Palaka Worm, it's like a big arbor backstomper. Yeah, man, Palaka Worm's a boss. Okay, so that's awesome. We get 3 of his permanents off the battlefield before we warp the frickin' world. All right, let's see what happens now. Boom. Okay, so we're going to get Ingot, some land. We're going to get these triggers. We're going to get a Captain of the Watch. That's good. We're going to get a Baneslayer Angel and an Inferno Titan. It looks like we're going to be able to play this Palaka Worm. If not, I think we can play the Captain. It's really close. All right, why? So what does our opponent get? Our opponent gets, they get to take a card from our hand with the Maggot. They get their Muse back. They get to blow something up with a Shadowborn, and they get a Colossus. But they only get 5 land, so not bad. We're going to take something out. What are we going to take out? Inferno Titan, I'm tempted to take out the Graveborn Muse, but our opponent's already got 7 cards in hand. It's not like that's doing much to hurt us. So I could take out the... Ooh! I can put 3 damage on the Arborback and then Anger of the Gods, but then I wipe out my own guy with the Captain of the Watch, so that's not very good. I think I'll just make sure I get the Maggot off the battlefield. I really don't want that thing around. And there's no good attacks here. So I'll guess we'll go... Oops, what just happened? I don't know what just happened. Well, we're going to find out. Inferno Titan. Yeah, pretty awesome card. I don't know why Inferno Titan only shot the Wayfinder. I don't know. Weirdness. Give me that. And draw me another card, thanks to that wall, and give me that. And make me my tokens. Okay. So smoke clears. We're sitting pretty. If he has a land, he's going to kill my Baneslayer Angel, which is going to suck, as that holds off his Shadowborn Demon. Vengevine's down there. He's got an Emerge guy. If he has Rescue, I lose. I just put him back in a position to rescue again is all I did. We'll just cast this and hope. We might have enough blockers. We might be okay. Against Craterhoof, that's really unlikely, though. And it doesn't look like he has Rescue. So again, these games are complicated. What's down there? Kozilek's still in the deck. Both Warp Worlds are down there, so we're not getting a Warp World back unless we find a Kozilek. One Anger of the Gods is in my hand, and under there is what? A Captain, that's right. Opponent finds no attacks. They're gonna just gonna munch my brain. All them maggots in my brain. All these maggots. Is there rarity restriction in this game? Yep. They follow the rarity restriction basics. 2 rares, 1 mythic. Yep. A Palaka Worm's an uncommon, so you get 3 of that guy. Alright, he's at 11. How much blocking can he do? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He can't block Baneslayer because it has protection from demons. Oh, he can block it with the Arbor back, with the Arbor Colossus. Arbor back. Alright, so if I attack all out, how does he block? Arbor. Chumpy Chumps, probably not. And this by the demon. Then eat this, eat this. He's got to worry about 1, 2, 3, 4. He can trade. I don't know. Part of me says attack all out and try to get him to block with those maggots, right? I think he has to. But is that worth losing my Baneslayer for? Nah. So I'm going to send in the worm. Just the worm. Because if that dies, I draw a card. And he's got to put a lot of resources in front of it. What's it gonna be? There's the blocks, sure. And we draw a Wayfinder. So let's try to hit Kozilek and shuffle that graveyard, as it's got a bunch of our good stuff in it. And we do! Right on cue. And we keep playing out cards in case we top deck that Warp World. Get that Warp World game going. And our opponent still seems to be missing their Spider game, but they're down to 10. They're without their demon now, so Baneslayer, it can still get blocked by a Colossus, which may also eat Baneslayer right here and go to a 9/9. There is a spawning down there, and the opponent's going to take the line of eating my Baneslayer Angel with Arbor Colossus, which, like I said, when you pay 6 and go monstrous, you destroy target creature with flying and opponent controls. Pretty boss card. Yeah, I got you guys looking up cards now. Haven't seen this stuff in a while. Alright, I think we'll chump here. Does that leave me any good attacks? Ooh. Hello. That's a big draw. So let's think about attacks. Block, block, block. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming through if he doesn't block with his maggots, which has another Captain and an Anger. Should I see what I hit with this Hydra first? Might impact my decision. Let's go ham. Big old 10. And we hit. Ooh, tough choice. But I will take a Butcher of Truth. Bam. Those don't go to the graveyard, they get shuffled back in, so I could draw them again very soon. So with that in mind, I'm sending the frickin' house. Try to get him to make some blocks here. Commit some resources. Alright. And we get Anger back in our hand. Nice. That sets me up if he has Spider spawning. Or if he plays Spider spawning, which is probably his best play. Yeah, dude, there's some strong cards in this set. Glasses of Urza, not one of them, though. Seance is awesome. I agree, Mortivore. Seance is the nuts. Seance is excellent. I have a deck for that, of course. I have my favorite Spider Seance deck. Sleep Pumper skipped out on 2015 because they dropped Two-Headed Giant. Well, they brought it back, so that must have made you very happy when they finally made that decision. But we all know what it's like for duels to take away something we really like, don't we? Alright. Your stuff is gonna die. And we get back this captain, which I don't think I need. And this should pretty much wrap it up with this attack. Once he loses these lands, he just doesn't have enough recourse. So what was the top tier decks on this version? I'll show you what I think they were. I think there's only 5 decks you can really play if you wanted to compete. And this, of course, is just my opinion, but I played this game a lot. And these were the only decks I would play in ranked when I was maintaining my number 2 or number 3 in the world status. So yeah, I'll show those to you. That'll be how we'll conclude this video today. And maybe we'll play these in the future, if you guys are interested, of course. Alright, so first deck, this was the most known one and the one I was least likely to play. But it was obviously powerful. It was the best probably for grinding. And it was one you could make mostly out of commons and uncommons, so you could build it very quickly. If you just picked up this game today, I would create a green-white deck to start your grind. And it is green-white tokens. Yeah, Mortivore. Ew, tokens. So some of the key cards here. The idea of this format, and you'll see this later, this format was defined by a lack of good removal in sweepers. It really was. There were only 4 sweepers, and you saw them in the last deck. There's 2 planar cleansings, because they're rare, and there's 2 Anger of the Gods, because they're rare. Anger of the Gods, excellent, but there's only 2 of them. Planar cleansing, pretty hard to cast, and you could definitely kill the opponent before they could get 3 white and 3 others, most of the time, with this deck. So most of the time, this deck only had to worry about 2 Anger of the Gods holding it back. And the removal for the format was pretty bad. So the idea of just having a deck that goes wide as fast as possible and does crazy stuff, then there you go. All right. So here's what it was. Some of the key cards, Brimaz, like if you play this on turn 3, there are so few ways to kill it. It's just, it's like probably the most tilting card in this game, in my opinion. I mean, I'm sure everybody's opinion is different, but every time anybody played this on turn 3, it was like, ugh, why? So that card's huge. Mentor of the Meek in this version draws a ton of cards. It's just a card advantage machine. Phantom General pumps all your guys. You still run some like big mid-range stuff like Baneslayer and Captain of the Watch, or at least I do, to recover if the opponent does somehow clean your board. Then you got Triplicate Spirits, 3/1/1 spirits. This card is just crazy. What can you say? Then on the green side, we do our Visionaries. Elder of Laurel's really great as a finisher, as it's kind of a chorus of might on a stick. Beastmaster Ascension, easy peasy, right? So as soon as like turn 4, usually, you just get up to 7 creatures, you cast this, and you win. Good game. Lots of fun. So many games ended that way. Doubling Season, because why not? You probably don't even need this. It's almost overkill, to be honest. It's almost overkill, but why would you not play it? It's pretty fun. And then we have Selesnya Evangel, another card you can run for Doubling Season. That's pretty fun, but also overkill most of the time. Mykoleth, Devour 2, and then you make Saprolings at the beginning of your upkeep based on what it devoured the first time. So it just kind of like doubles your tokens every upkeep, which is pretty crazy. So that's green-white tokens. Absolute player in the, like, for the longest time. Like, this is probably the most common deck you'd run into, or at least for me. So this is my version of, and it's not that different. Like Hakeem got a lot of buzz because he had this deck, but this is my version of it, and I think it's the best version. I put a lot of time into it. But this is Bugs. This is a spider spawning deck that also uses Seance and Self-Mill. And the thing that I did that I never saw anybody else on YouTube do, or anybody else on NGA for that matter, and maybe I'm wrong about that, I wasn't big on NGA back in those days, but I ran Squadron Hawk. And what I would always do with this deck is I would cast Squadron Hawk as soon as I could, usually on turn 2. I would fetch all the Squadron Hawks, and then depending if I was on the play or the draw, I would immediately discard 1 or 2 Squadron Hawks in the graveyard just to start filling the graveyard and to thin the deck so I was more likely to draw my Spider Spawnings or my Seance, right? So I'm a big fan of the Hawk, also because this deck has a weakness to flyers, and these make great chump blockers. So I'm a huge fan of using Squadron Hawk in this spot. Then we have our Seance, we have our Baneslayer. I'm a huge fan of the Archangel over things like Palaka Worm, because if you're up against burn and your life total gets really low, you need to make it all the way back to 20. And then we get the Hedron Crab action. The Hedron Crab self-mill action is amazing. I love it in this deck. It's by far one of the funnest things about it. The one of Laboratory Maniac. So if you would draw a card while your library has no cards, you win the game. Alternate win conditions, very fun. You run that with Seance. It's really neat. Gargomazoa, just a one of, but this card is actually very good. It doesn't die to the most common removal in the format, which is Shock. And it's, if the opponent has to do something like Anger of the Gods it or Banefire it, you feel really good about that. And it's something that can block those tokens and pick them off and keep the token deck from swinging every single turn without caring. So it's actually a good card. It's a horrible card that is good in this format. Let me just put it that way. You'll see more of it in other decks. Just one in this deck because there wasn't room. Then we do the Assistant thing, the Shadowborn Demon, pretty self-explanatory. You saw him. The Visionary Wayfinder combo, Spider Spawning, because usually if you cast a turn 5 spawning for 6 or more spiders, you just win. Then we have Behemoth, also wins the game, and the Soothsayer, which is a Naga Shaman that lets you mill 4 and pick 1 and keep it. Really good card. So this is my version of the Bugs deck, the 4-color Bugs. And this deck, if you... maybe we'll play it sometime. It is a blast. It is a ton of freaking fun. Over on the land side, just 1 blue, 3 black, 4/4, and then all the tri-lands. So, bunch of lands that come into play tapped, which is the most awkward thing about it. But this deck is a ton of fun. It is probably the funnest deck that you can play in this format. Funner for me than Warp World, to be honest. Deck number 3 is Blue-Red Spells. I would run Blue-Red Spells. This deck can kill you very fast. Turn 4 kills are not uncommon at all. They usually involve going like turn 2 Kiln Fiend, turn 3 Kiln Fiend, turn 4 Artful Dodge, Vapor Snag, Shock. And that's like 50 damage. Not 50, maybe it's 30. But this deck is just gross. It revolves mainly around Kiln Fiend, which is like the good Pyre Hound, which for every instant or sorcery you cast +3/+0, but on a 2-mana creature instead of those 4-mana creatures we have in current duels. And then you combine that with Artful Dodge, which says it can't be blocked and you flash it back for a blue. So right there you're attacking for 7 for 2 mana, and it can't be blocked. If you have 2 Kiln Fiends, you're attacking for 14 unblockable with just 1 Artful Dodge and 2 Kiln Fiends. Other than that, I play other cards that let me keep being aggressive. Some of these decks run Think Twice. I think that that's kind of silly in a deck like this, because I don't think you're trying to grind out value. I think you're trying to get them dead. Coordinate Assault, a lot better for getting your creatures through and creating more tokens with Pyro, tokens with Talrand, activating Gutter Snipe. But it lets you attack more with your Kiln Fiend, with your Young Pyromancer, and with your Goblin Rabblemaster. Anytime your creatures have to sit back, that's a turn you could have been killing the opponent, and that's why I go with Coordinated Assault. I run Banefire in a lot of decks because way too many games in this format revolve around whether or not you can leave a card like Young Pyromancer, Selesnya Evangel, Kiln Fiend, Goblin Rabblemaster, Gutter Snipe, or Talrand on the battlefield. If any of these cards just sit on the battlefield, they generate the overwhelming advantage and you lose. So I run Banefire in addition to Shock. So pretty much all my red decks. And then of course we also crack Skulls, because I don't care. Cracking Skulls is awesome. And they can't, it says they can't gain life, so this counters, say, a Baneslayer Angel lifelink trigger. It also counters a Palaka Worm or a Resolute Archangel trigger, so that you don't just lose when the opponent gets a life gain spell going. And yeah, then we also have Krenko's Command. By the way, this card is freaking ridiculous. They just don't make them like this anymore. This card is insane. I mean, if this guy sticks around, when they play this on turn 3, much like Brimaz, you just feel like the game is over. It's an awesome card. And then this is, in my opinion, the only control deck you can play. This is my control deck. A lot of people try like 4-color and 5-color Obelisk control. I think Obelisk of Alara is a horrible card, in my opinion. I don't even run it in my control deck. I think there are just better cards. Since the removal in this format is so bad, there's no reason you shouldn't be playing some of the creatures that just take over the game instead of dirtling away your life with Obelisk of Alara. But that's my very strong opinion. I know there's a lot of Obelisk of Alara love out there in this format because it seemed like a Planeswalker before there were Planeswalkers. But I do not think you should run it. Control is really hard to play in this format, but I think this is a deck that works. So what do we got? We got a bunch of the rares and mythics that are awesome. We've got all the sweepers like Planar Cleansing. We've got an Angelic Edict because, you know, OP. You got to exile things somehow. We've got Quicken to play Anger of the Gods at instant speed, or Angelic Edict, or Ground Assault, or some of those other cards. Think Twice is really the only good card draw in the whole format, so we run it. But we've got 4 Negates. Negate was in this format, and believe it or not, the format didn't fall apart because of Negate. So I run all 4, and that's a controversial thing, but I think your main enemy is tokens and things of that ilk, and negating even a Raise the Alarm or Triplicate Spirits is a big frickin' deal when you don't have that many sweepers. I think you have to play with Negate. It also means you lock up the game a lot sooner. If they give you even 1 turn with one of your creatures on the battlefield and you have Negate up, they just lose. And then Dissolve, which is the counterspell of choice, a much better counterspell than the 3-mana ones like Scatter and Broken Concentration. Scry 1 is actually a lot better than any of those things. And then Banefire, I told you about 2 Banefire, but often ends the game in this deck. A lot of games come down to Banefire. And then we got Shock, Anger of the Gods, Inferno Titan. We run both copies of Charmbreaker Devils, a really good card in this format. This deck often plays that you just stay alive until turn 6. You throw out Charmbreaker Devils, and if you get to untap with it, like, you win. And like I said, most of the removal is horrible. So I think this is just better than Obelisk of Alara. If you want to play Obelisk, because it was a very popular card in 2015, just take this out, put it in. But I don't recommend it. And then Ground Assault. It's really the best removal spell in the whole format. It's sorcery speed, but you can play at an instant speed with Quicken sometimes. Damage to target creature, equal the number of lands you control. I also run, I think, 26 lands in this deck. There you go. Whole bunch of tap lands. Gotta get your colors right. That's the main way this deck loses, is bad mana. And yeah, and there's our mana curve. No 4-drops, 2 5-drops, 5 6-drops, and then a whole bunch of early action. Plenty of stars going on. I forgot to show you the distribution. Yeah, Negate is in 2015. There were no Planeswalkers to counter. Maybe that's why. 4 colors is actually free. Like, okay, so this is one of the interesting things. This is an interesting thing, Gimmick Man, about 2015 and about anybody who wants to play it. It's 4 colors is free. If you're gonna, because of the tri-lands. So let me go show you really quick. These tri-lands, right? Jungle Shrine, Citadel, Bivouac, they all produce 3 colors of mana. So if you're gonna run 12 comes into play tap lands anyway, then you get 9 sources of a color of your choice for free. So my 4th color in this deck is only for 3 Ground Assaults, which are the best removal spell in the game. And I get 9 sources of green just for playing these tri-lands. Alright? So, yeah, voila. Basically, you get a free splash color. And that's why 4 colors, if you're playing 3 colors in this format, you may as well play 4. If you can find like any 1 or 2 cards that you want to run in that color, it's like it's free. You may as well play 4 color. There's no point to 3 color decks in this format. But yeah, tri-lands, man, it was a thing once upon a time. So this is the last deck, and it'll go really fast. This deck is called Red because it's mono red, and it's just, it's goblins. You just kill them. This goblin deck is so fast. It's not quite Goblin Gangland beats, but it's really oppressive. Its good draws are unbeatable. Its bad draws lose and feel awful, but it gets more good draws than bad draws. So there we go. You Banefire things. Like I said, I run this in all my red decks because you just can't let things like Young Pyromancer live. And then we run a Quest of the Goblin Lord because when you have it on turn 1, it's fantastic. When you have it any other turn of the game, it's horrible. So if this is in your opening hand, yay. But you never want to draw 2, and you never want to draw 3. I think 1 is perfect. Coordinate Assault. Again, this is kind of one of these funny combat tricks that you don't really want to play with, but you need it. Your other options are to play Auras, which it's hard to get value off of because everyone played Shock and Bane and Banisher Priest in this format, so your Auras were almost certainly doomed. Or you can play Coordinate Assault, where you can keep attacking and your opponent always has to respect it, because it could happen at any time. And then we run Goblin Arsonist, because why not? Foundry Seat Denizen, too good for Magic Duels, I guess you call it 2016 now. Goblin Bushwhacker, way too good for duels. This card is nuts. And a big reason to play the Goblin deck. It's just so hard to beat. Then we run Shock. We run that Skullcrack that we talked about. Goblin Shortcutter. When it enters the battlefield, something can't block. Krankos. Rabblemaster. Gutter Snipe we already saw. And then we run 2 Hall of Triumph, which you always choose red, and it's an Anthem effect. And we have 22 1-drops, 11 2-drops, 7 3-drops, 20 lands. This deck is balls to the wall, fast as they come. This is the super aggro deck of the format. And 20 mountains. You do want to curve out to 4 mana. Even though I only have, I only go up to 7 3-drops, don't think that you want to cut more lands because you want to go up to 4 mana. You want your turn 4 to be Goblin Bushwhacker and something else, preferably a Krankos command, because that's how you push through and just win. That's how you just steal the game. Krankos command into Goblin Bushwhacker, swing, you die. And yeah, there's that curve. Speed, I got 5 stars of speed. Let's see, nobody can do that in duels. It's impossible in the current duels, but I was able to get 5 stars of speed back in the day. All right, so those are the only 5 decks I would run, quite frankly. I would run red, I would run that control deck, this spell, blue-red spells, bugs, or tokens. And it just depends on what's popular. This deck is awesome, blue-red spells is awesome against the bugs deck, because their whole game is about blocking, chump blocking you and making spiders. You can just straight kill them on turn 4 with spells. It just owns this deck. If everybody's playing tokens, then bugs is okay, because your spiders are better than their 1/1s, but control is probably best. Control is pretty decent against tokens. If everybody's playing control, you just want to play red, because all the tap lands and the colors, like, they just can't cast their spells on time that often. Red just gets under them and destroys them. Spells also has an okay matchup with red because you run the shocks. But what spells is not very good against at all is control. Control just destroys it because they usually have more removal spells or ways to deal with your stuff than you have creatures. And you're always like a big creature away from getting owned. So it's just kind of this carousel of whatever the meta handed me would depend on what I played. Mostly I'd play control, bugs, and red. Those were the 3 I did the most of. Anyway, that's a walk through an old format. And anybody of you who actually stuck with me and watched this, kudos to you for thinking Magic is that cool. But anyway, I'm running out of voice, and I'm hungry, and I'm sure my wife is wondering what the hell I'm doing and why I'm not hanging out with her. So I'm going to call it for today. Tomorrow I will be on Twitch quite a bit to watch the new standard format and the Hour of Devastation cards get played in Cincinnati at the SCG tournament there. So if you want to come by my channel and say hello tomorrow, I'll be watching some Hour of Devastation. I hope you guys had a good time today playing some duels. Maybe we'll do this again. This was pretty fun, and now that I've talked about these decks, I feel like I have to play them a little bit for you. I never made any video content whatsoever for 2015, but it was when I felt I was at my best as a Magic Duels player, back before before the duels diaries, before the writing, before the streaming, before the tournaments. I felt like I was only dialed in on winning and being ranked, and I was really good at it. So I have fond memories. All right, good night, everybody. Nice to see you. Thanks for taking me back. It was a pleasure, and I'll be back later.